Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we sift through the information overload to bring you the insights that truly matter. Today, we're plunging into a book that's not just a business bestseller, but really a cornerstone of modern management thinking. It's Jim C. Collins' 1001 classic, Good to Great, Why Some Companies Make the Leap and Others Don't. We've pulled together a comprehensive Wikipedia overview and also a detailed summary by Paul Miners. And our mission for you today is, well, to uncover Collins's most transformative ideas about what truly separates the merely good from the genuinely great. We'll examine the specific characteristics he identified and then critically explore both the significant praise and, frankly, the passionate criticisms the book has received. All of this so you can walk away with a richer understanding of these crucial business concepts. Okay, let's unpack this. What made this book such a phenomenon? I mean, when Good to Great hit shelves back on October 16, 2001, it wasn't just another business book, was it? It became this cultural touchstone, selling over 4 million copies. It resonated way beyond boardrooms. You had entrepreneurs, nonprofit leaders, really anyone curious about success picking it up. It struck a chord.
It absolutely did. And I think a big reason for that broad appeal lies in Jim Collins himself. He isn't just an author. He really considers himself both a dedicated student and a teacher of leadership. He's known for his meticulous, almost obsessive research. Before Good to Great, he'd already co-authored Built to Last, another huge text. His approach is less about pure theory and more about empirical evidence, really digging deep to understand what actually happened in companies that made that significant, sustained leap.
Right, and that research method is incredibly compelling. Collins wasn't just speculating, was he? He painstakingly identified 11 companies that transformed from being, average or even mediocre performers into truly great ones. And they sustained those results for at least 15 years. Then, crucially, he compared each of them to a comparator company, a direct peer, same industry, similar opportunities and challenges that just, well, didn't make that leap. It's almost like a scientific experiment, but, applied to the messy world of business.
Exactly. That head-to-head comparison is what let his team isolate specific factors. Think about Walgreens, which became a great company, versus its direct competitor, Eckerd. That's a classic example. Or Kimberly-Clark, which really outperformed Scott Paper Company. Nucor is another great one, thriving in steel while Bethlehem Steel, faltered. By analyzing these pairs, Collins could pinpoint those distinguishing characteristics that seem to make the difference between sustained greatness and just staying mediocre.
And what's particularly insightful, something often overlooked, I think, is Collins' inclusion of those unsustained companies mentioned in the Wikipedia entry. These were, 6 organizations, like Rubbermaid and Chrysler. They achieved greatness for a bit, but couldn't keep it going long term. It's such a stark reminder, isn't it? Making the leap is one thing, but sustaining it is a whole different challenge. Greatness isn't static.
Indeed. It's a continuous process. And all this really granular research leads into Collins' main model for transforming a company. He describes it as this deliberate build-up phase that eventually, almost inevitably, leads to a powerful breakthrough. But it's not sudden. It's a continuous cycle, like a flywheel. He uses that visual diagram. And it revolves around 3 core things: disciplined people, disciplined thought, and disciplined action. Each one feeds the next, building momentum.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, especially when we talk about those disciplined people. Collins highlights something really counterintuitive about the leaders of these great companies, or the level 5 leaders, he calls them. You might expect, these big, charismatic, high-profile CEOs with massive egos, but he found the exact opposite.
That's right. It's fascinating. Level 5 leaders, he found, blend extreme personal humility with intense professional will. These aren't the celebrity CEOs you read about in the headlines. Instead, they're typically modest, unassuming, often deflecting praise, focusing on setting others up for success. Their ambition is channeled into the company's long-term goals, not their own personal glory. Collins defines them as individuals who prioritize the institution over themselves. They have this almost stoic determination to make the company great, no matter who gets the credit. They sit at the very top of his leadership pyramid, progressing from individual contributor up to this highest level of capability and commitment. And crucially, when things go well, they're the first to point out the window, give credit to the team, to luck, whatever. But when things go wrong, they look in the mirror, first to accept responsibility.
It almost sounds like an anti-CEO in today's world of personal brands and, self-promotion. It's quite different. Why would this quiet, humble, yet resolute approach be the key differentiator?
Well, it seems to foster an environment of trust and shared purpose. A level 5 leader isn't seeking personal accolades, so they're more effective at attracting and keeping other disciplined, high-performing people. And that connects perfectly to another core idea: First who, then what? Collins argues that getting the right people on the bus is actually more important than figuring out exactly where the bus is going first. That's a profound shift, right? Leadership isn't just about having the vision, it's about building the team that can create the vision.
That bus metaphor is just iconic, isn't it? And it really
Uh,
challenges so much conventional wisdom. Most leaders, maybe myself included sometimes, obsess about the vision, the strategy, the market first, then scramble to find the talent. Collins just flips that on its head.
he absolutely does. His quote sums it up perfectly. I don't really know where we should take this bus, but I know this much. If we get the right people on the bus, the right people in the right seats, and the wrong people off the bus, then we'll figure out how to take it someplace great. Hmm. The benefits of this who first approach are, well, pretty huge. You find the right people are inherently easier to motivate. They're self-driven. They require less direct management. They tend to work seamlessly together. And critically, if you need to change direction later, which, let's face it, happens all the time now, it's far easier with a flexible, capable, committed team already on board. It's less command and control, more attract and build.
So, what does this all mean for hiring? For you listening right now, it sounds like you might need to rethink your whole approach to building your team.
Absolutely. Collins gives some really practical hiring tips based on this. First, and this is maybe the most important, look for character over specific skills, or even education. You can teach skills, right? But instilling integrity, work ethic, humility, much harder. Second, if you have any doubt about a candidate, like if your gut is telling you something's off, don't hire them. Trust that instinct. A bad hire is incredibly costly. Third, if you realize you did make a mistake, you have the wrong person in a role. Act fast. Make the change. Letting suboptimal talent linger just drags everyone down. And finally, put your absolute best people, your most capable folks, on your biggest opportunities, not just your biggest problems. Too often, top talent gets stuck in crisis mode instead of driving growth. Oh, and he also stresses having management teams who can debate vigorously, yet who unify behind decisions. Healthy conflict, then unified action.
Okay, so you've got these disciplined people on the bus. The next critical step is disciplined thought. This is where Collins introduces the idea of confronting the brutal facts, being relentlessly realistic, honest, even when it's really tough. No sugarcoating.
Right, and this is beautifully captured in what he calls the Stockdale paradox. It's named after Admiral Jim Stockdale, who was a prisoner of war in Vietnam for over 7 years. It's about maintaining this unwavering faith that you will prevail in the end, that commitment to eventual victory, while simultaneously confronting the brutal, often painful facts of your current reality. It's holding those two opposing ideas. For leaders, Collins suggests things like engage workers with questions, don't pretend you have all the answers, foster real debate, open conversation, not coercion, make sure everyone, especially dissenters, gets heard, avoid blame, build red flag mechanisms so bad news surfaces quickly, and don't give false hope. The right people you hired, they'll be motivated by tackling real problems.
That's such a powerful balance, that optimism combined with stark realism. Okay, so once you've faced the brutal facts, you know the reality, then you move to the hedgehog concept. This sounds like simplifying things, right? Cutting through complexity to find one guiding principle.
It's exactly. Think of a hedgehog, right? In a dangerous world, its defense is simple, roll into a ball. Very effective. Great companies, Collins found, do something similar with their strategy. They don't try to be everything. They simplify. The hedgehog concept is found at the intersection of 3 fundamental circles or questions. First, what are you deeply passionate about? What really drives your organization at its core? Second, what can you be the best in the world at? Not just good at, but truly world-class. Understanding your unique capability. And third, what drives your economic engine? How do you actually generate sustained, robust cash flow and profitability? What's your key metric?
So it's not just passion or just skill or just profit. It's that sweet spot where all 3 overlap.
Got it. And you mentioned Walgreens earlier. How did that apply to them? Walgreens is the perfect example. For years, they kind of struggled. But eventually, their hedgehog concept became incredibly clear and simple. It was simply be the best, most convenient drugstores with high profit per customer visit. That's it. So clear, so concise, so actionable. They weren't trying to be the biggest or the cheapest necessarily. They focused laser-like on convenience and maximizing the profit from each person walking through the door. And that simple concept guided everything: store locations, layout, product mix, everything. And it helped them massively outperform giants like Intel and Coke during that transition period.
What's fascinating here is how that single concept really simplifies strategy for everyone in the company, gives crystal clear focus, makes decisions easier, I imagine, which then leads us naturally to the third piece, disciplined action.
Yeah.
So you have disciplined people, disciplined thought. Now it's about creating a culture of discipline, where those people consistently take disciplined action aligned with that hedgehog concept.
This is where it all comes together. Collins argues a great culture isn't about rigid bureaucracy or tons of rules. Instead, it's about freedom and responsibility, but within a framework. A clear framework defined by the hedgehog concept. It's about having people who are inherently self-disciplined, passionate about the work, and willing to go the extra mile. A key tool here, which I love, is the stop doing list. Great companies are just as disciplined about what they stop doing, things that don't fit the hedgehog, things that drain resources, as they are about what they start doing. They only pursue work, collaborations, acquisitions that really fit their culture and direction. He illustrates this with a good to great matrix of creative discipline. Basically, greatness happens when you combine that strong internal discipline sticking to the hedgehog, using the stop doing list with the freedom and initiative of entrepreneurship. It avoids bureaucratic sludge.
That stop doing hens list, it's such a powerful idea, but so often overlooked, isn't it? Companies just keep adding, adding, adding. Okay, and what about technology accelerators? How do these disciplined companies approach tech? It sounds like they're not just chasing shiny objects.
Exactly right. Collins found technology acts as an accelerator of momentum you already have, not a creator of it. Good to great companies are incredibly disciplined here. They don't jump on every new tech bandwagon just because it's hyped. Instead, they only pursue technologies that are directly consistent with their hedgehog concept. So if your hedgehog is, like you said, being the best local bakery, maybe you invest in amazing oven tech because that fits your core. But you probably wouldn't be chasing, I don't know, the latest AI trend just because everyone else is, unless it directly served that core concept of being the best bakery. Technology is a tool to amplify, not a distraction.
Okay, so putting all these elements together, disciplined people, thought, action, it's crystal clear that this transformation from good to great isn't some, overnight aha moment, no silver bullet. It's a gradual, deliberate buildup of momentum, piece by piece.
That's the absolute core of the flywheel effect. Imagine a giant, heavy flywheel. Those first few pushes are incredibly hard, slow, feels like you're getting nowhere. But you keep pushing consistently, disciplined effort, push after push, and slowly momentum builds. The flywheel spins faster and faster. And eventually, each push requires the same effort but yields far greater results. It gets easier to keep it spinning fast. Collins actually observed that the leaders inside these companies often weren't even aware a major transformation was happening until well into it. It was more obvious looking back. It's all about the cumulative effect of many small, disciplined steps, all pushing in the same direction.
And the flip side of that powerful flywheel momentum, that must be what he calls the doom loop, where companies just seem stuck, right? Can't get traction.
Exactly. The doom loop describes companies that are always looking for that miracle moment, that one big program or leader to save them. They push really hard initially, maybe launch some splashy new initiative, but then, crucially, they change direction too often, before any real momentum can build. New leaders are often culprits here, feeling pressure to make their mark quickly, so they abandon existing strategies, even if they were slowly building flywheel energy. This constant reaction and restructuring, changing course every year or two, it just prevents anything from gaining traction. It creates cynicism and underperformance, a total recipe for mediocrity, or worse.
Wow. Okay, so Jim Collins' work, Good to Great, clearly massively influential, shaped how countless leaders think. It's been widely praised. You mentioned the Wall Street Journal CEO Council naming it a top management book, Publishers Weekly calling it worthwhile. Huge impact. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, the book has also faced some really significant criticism over the years. While impactful, it's definitely not without its detractors.
That's a really important point for a balanced view. And the criticisms are quite varied. They hit different aspects. For example, Peter C. DeMarco, back in 2012, he identified what he called a fatal error in the whole framework. He argued that by setting up good versus greatness so directly, it kind of unintentionally created a proxy for greed. Like the pursuit of greatness just becomes about maximizing profit above all else.
That's an interesting ethical angle. And others criticized its sort of universal applicability.
Precisely. You had Holt and Cameron, for instance, suggesting Collins' model is a bit of a generic business recipe. Appealing, sure, but maybe overlooks the specific strategic opportunities and challenges unique to different industries or market situations. They felt the one-size-fits-all advice can be risky.
But maybe the sharpest critiques came later from people looking at how the actual great companies performed after the book came out.
Absolutely. That's where it gets really pointed. Stephen D. Levitt, from Freakonomics, he pointed out that some of Collins' original great companies, like Circus City, Fannie Mae, later ran into serious, even catastrophic trouble. He even calculated that if you'd invested in a portfolio of those 11 good to great companies right when the book came out in 2001, you would have actually underperformed the S&P 500 over the next decade. Ouch. Levitt's conclusion was pretty stark. These kinds of backward-looking business books, however rigorous they seem, are mostly just backward-looking. They can't reliably predict or guide the future.
So the very examples used didn't always stay great. That's a tough one. How did Collins respond to that kind of critique?
Well, according to John Greathouse, Collins sort of defended it by saying the book never promised that these companies would always be great, just that they were once great. Huh. Greathouse found that defense a bit problematic. He felt it kind of shifted the blame in Collins' later book, How the Mighty Fall, suggesting companies failed because they stopped following the good to great principles after the initial analysis was done.
Interesting. And then there were criticisms about the research methodology itself, right? Phil Rosenzweig, in The Halo Effect, brings up some fundamental issues. Can you unpack what he meant by halo effects and the wrong end of the stick delusion?
Sure. Rosenzweig's critique is really fundamental. He argues that Collins, like many business writers, relied heavily on magazine articles, case studies, things written after the companies were already successful. This leads to halo effects, meaning we tend to attribute positive traits, great culture, visionary leadership, to companies because they're successful, mistakenly thinking those traits cause the success. In reality, those perceptions might just be a result of success, or even just positive PR spin. We see successful companies through rose-tinted glasses, and the wrong end of the stick delusion. That's about confusing correlation with causation. It's classic. It's easy to look at successful companies, identify common traits like, say, clear focus. But it doesn't automatically mean clear focus caused the success. It could easily be the other way around. Success allowed the company to develop a clearer focus, maybe by shedding distracting parts of the business. Or maybe success enabled them to invest in disciplined processes. Rosenzweig basically questions whether Collins truly isolated the causes of greatness or just observed correlations that were themselves influenced by prior success. It really challenges the core findings.
Okay, wow. This raises an important question then. How do these criticisms challenge or maybe refine our understanding of Collins's model? Does it mean the book is, I don't know, irrelevant now? Or just that we need to read it with a more critical eye?
Oh, it absolutely doesn't make the book irrelevant. Not at all. The core concepts are still powerful frameworks for thinking. What the criticisms do is encourage a more nuanced, more dynamic understanding. They're crucial reminders. They remind us that business success is incredibly complex. It's influenced by market forces, timing, leadership changes, just plain luck sometimes, alongside those internal factors Collins focused on. So Collins provides this compelling framework of internal disciplines, but the real-world external factors, the sheer uncertainty of the future, means no formula guarantees greatness forever. It's really about applying these insights thoughtfully, adapting them to your context, continuously reassessing, rather than treating them like, immutable laws carved in stone. The principles about people, focus, discipline, they remain valuable starting points. But their application demands ongoing critical thinking and adaptation.
What a fascinating deep dive into good to great. We really covered a lot of ground. We explored those profound insights from Jim Collins, the surprising nature of level 5 leaders, that crucial first who, then what idea, the need to confront brutal facts with the Stockdale paradox, simplifying strategy with the Hedgehog Concept. We also saw how a culture of discipline and that careful use of technology as an accelerator can drive progress. And we understood that powerful, gradual flywheel effect versus the dangerous pitfalls of the doom loop. For you listening, the value here isn't just absorbing these concepts, right? It's about critically evaluating them. How do they resonate with your own experiences? How might the criticisms temper how you apply them in your work? Maybe for you, leading a growing team, that first who idea forces a radical rethink of your next hire. Or perhaps the hedgehog concept challenges you to really simplify your own strategy in what feels like an increasingly complex world. It encourages a thoughtful, engaged approach. So as you go about your week, maybe consider this. What single clear concept truly drives your efforts? Whether it's your team, your project, or even your own career. And how consistently are you really pushing the flywheel in that specific direction day after day, building that incremental momentum, even when maybe no one's watching? Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive. We'll catch you next.